Well, we've seen so much change in AI. Everyone thinks it started with ChatGPT. And before everyone, I will tell you 9 out of 10 people I run into think that is AI. And so much has changed. I was introduced in November of 2022. Can you provide us with some level on where AI is today? What we should expect over the next 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, great question. It's November 2022. ChatGPT is released to the world. In 5 days, 1 million users. In 2 months, 100 million users. So I think if I was going to say, let's track back to November to here, the first thing I would say is the explosive growth of artificial intelligence. This month, OpenAI has just released 700 million weekly active users. Oh my goodness, 700 million? That's just for one company. Second piece I would tell you is that remember that really mediocre high school student they were messing with in November of 2022? They've gotten really good over the past couple of years. They're passing all of the advanced placement tests, the MCATs, the LSATs. Okay, and we have that as a bit of, kind of a moniker, but, the International Math Olympiad just occurred, and both Gemini and OpenAI's ChatGPT, scored the best score in the International Math Olympiad. So I would tell you the second piece is that the qualitative element of these models is much better in less than 3 years. Third thing I would tell you is that we have a number of different models. Remember when it was just, I would type in the prompt and I would get a response. Now I have a capability to talk to it. Now I have deep research. Now I have reasoning. Now I have this ability to have agents. Oh my gosh, I can actually have an agent go out and make reservations for me to go to dinner or plan my vacation or do whatever the next piece is. And I would tell you the last thing is that I think that we still have a growing degree of risk, right? Let's be honest with these models. They still hallucinate. They still hallucinate to a fairly large degree on some of these things. We are seeing the elements of deep fake. Oh my goodness, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, said, hey, we really can't trust the ability to have verbal authentication anymore because the deep fake models have gotten that good. We're also starting to see a number of the college graduates this year, Wall Street Journal article about 2 weeks ago, where college graduates are having a bit of a trouble being able to get placed into firms coming out of college. Hey, guess what? Job displacement is something that we're going to deal with regards to these models. And so I would tell you that that's kind of a little bit of a landscape over the past couple of years, but let me talk to you about the next 12 to 18 months. Here's what I would tell you first of all is that, first thing I would tell you is that there's going to be all about agents. You're going to see virtual assistants. You're going to see a lot of the folks starting to see, oh my gosh, this model can do so much for me. The second thing I would tell you is that number one prompts today. What's the number one prompt you think for ChatGPT? Number one prompt, therapy and companionship. It has moved from the technical to the emotional. Yeah, I know, wow.
Yes.
Wow, I say the same thing. A guy that ran the National Security Agency, put all that data into the model. So there's a tremendous amount of personal data that's now going into these models. The third thing I would tell you is that the rate of change is dramatic. It's dramatic. I just walked you through less than 3 years going from typing in a prompt to where we're seeing today with regards to agents, with deep reasoning and with deep research, and where we see the future. And so, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about what the future holds for all of us, but I think what the future holds for all of us is much more artificial intelligence.
What part of medicine should AI never replace? As a physician who's dedicated your life to healing, how do you think AI is going to play out and what the impact might be?
Well, I think, Kevin, AI has an incredibly important role to play in healthcare, but healthcare in its essence is about people taking care of people. The concept of bringing hope and healing to people who are looking to have their health restored. Health is a unique characteristic of living things. And therefore, I think you're always going to have people taking care of people. I think we've all had the opportunity to hopefully rarely interact with a physician that seemed a little bit robotic, right? But in its essence, this is about a blend of competence and compassion. And I think that care can really be greatly improved with automation. Caring, still we have room to go. AI can mimic empathy and compassion. It can't replicate empathy and compassion. It can't hold your hand at that end-of-life decision. It can help bring information about those choices, but won't be there when a really important moral, ethical conversation has to occur. At least not now. So I think the mad rush to think about the replacement of the provider with AI is a little bit premature. There's another really important absolute though that I think is unique to healthcare, very different than your industries. And that's the fact that these tools have to be trained on work processes. And healthcare is replete with dysfunctional work processes. And if we start to train these models on the current systems, it will simply amplify the dysfunctions. So a critical step is to think about how we stabilize and standardize clinical workflow and do so before we take advantage of the unique ability of AI to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of care. But if we don't stop and define clinical workflow by content, sequence, timing, location, expected outcome, and quantify that, there will not be adequate material on which these models can learn. And the product is likely not going to be amplify what you already experience as the less than highly reliable system. So, two absolutes. We're not going to do away with all the providers. And we need to stabilize and standardize the processes before we can get the benefit of this capability. I believe the richest capability for these new tools is to improve my competency and my efficiency. And as Kevin said, we face an enormous shortage of workforce. The Great Resignation leaves healthcare systems today at Duke, right? Pretty complicated place like here at Vanderbilt and certainly at Penn. 50% of our nurses have less than 3 years experience. We need augmented capabilities at the bedside in order to be able to deliver the complexity of care, because that level of experience that once existed and was deep doesn't exist. But that can be richly enhanced with these tools. Sitting at the bedside and holding the hand of that patient, not so much, right? So it's that combination that I think we're looking to do.
So I think Rick makes a really important point here. You know, I married above my social standing, I married a nurse. And one thing that I saw was just that element of humanness that she would bring to, her work with patients. And for those of us that have ever, been through an illness, I mean, that humanness is just so important. So I come back to one of the points that I think is really essential for us to think about with these tools. What does that mean for leaders? What does it mean for leaders? And how do we think about leadership training with all these tools? And, one of the things that I try to impart on the students that I have contact with here at Vanderbilt is, one of the most important things that you're going to learn is how to be a critical thinker. How to think critically. No one really cares about what you majored in, but they really care about whether or not you can look at a problem, examine the problem, bring ideas to the problem, and implement solutions to it. And I think that that's, I look at all these tools, I was thinking, wow, these can be really important in the hands of an effective leader. But effective leadership begins with that human contact.